of Sussex and elements of the press are at a sorry pass. But a court judgment today has, perhaps temporarily, shifted the balance of power towards the Sussexes. The Court of Appeal accepted a previous ruling which found that a letter from the then Meghan Markle to her father, extracts of which were published in the Mail on Sunday, was personal. The Mail on Sunday has said it is considering an application to the Supreme Court. Well, following the judgment, the Duchess of Sussex said, "While this win is precedent-setting, what matters most is that we're now collectively brave enough to reshape a tabloid industry that conditions people to be cruel and profits from the lies and pain that they create." Well, in taking on the tabloids, has the Duchess of Sussex reframed what privacy actually means, or has she let herself in for even more tabloid attention? I'm joined now by the journalist and author Kirsty Wark and royal expert and historian Victoria Howard. Thank you very much for joining us. Victoria Howard, first of all, is there a chance that actually this will change anything in the way the tabloids operate?
I don't think so. I think that's a very big ask for a lawsuit such as this. And of course, the newspaper group are considering taking it that step further to the Supreme Court. They really think they have a strong case. And honestly, it just feels a bit antagonistic to the tabloids. They are trying to stand up for themselves, but equally, I don't think that is working in that relationship with the media.
Now, why would you suggest that it's antagonised towards the tabloids when a lot of people would say the tabloids were antagonistic towards the Duchess of Sussex?
Absolutely, but for the royal family in particular, Meghan and Harry's relationship and the way they've been dealing with the press has been very different. You know, you've probably heard that mantra, never complain, never explain. Harry and Meghan have not been happy to settle for that.
Well, Kirsty Wark, I mean, there was always going to be a massive interest in Meghan Markle, wasn't there? Because she was financially independent, she was a UN ambassador, she was an actor, already famous, divorced, first biracial royal member of the royal family. And at first, the attention all went pretty well, and she looked like she was enjoying it.
I think initially she did, but I also think that, you know, we have to be clear that this is a person who really didn't understand the history of the royal family and the history of the institution of the monarchy. So I like to say that I think she was a bit naive going into this. That being said, I do think that the tabloids have been especially relentless, and because she is an American and because she is a biracial woman with African ancestry, Black ancestry, I don't think that we can look away from, you know, those identities in terms of how the press in particular has treated her, especially the tabloids.
Do you agree with that, Victoria?
I do. Naive is a good word to describe that. It sounds like she really was not briefed on how this works, that really they don't engage with the press in that way. They try and do things behind closed doors if they are unhappy and engage with journalists.
Well, that's interesting, because would you say that was the same in the States? I mean, there isn't, to my mind, there isn't the same history of such intrusion from tabloids in the States, such relentless intrusion. Am I right?
I don't necessarily know if that is accurate because, I mean, we're coming off a year in which we've seen the kind of scrutiny over time that Britney Spears has faced, for example. And so I do think the tabloids in the US operate similarly, but not the same. I also think that the institution of the monarchy is a very particular institution. And for me, I would say that Meghan has handled it as best as she can, but from the very beginning, again, I sort of imagined that she thought that she might sort of be able to change the way they engage with the press. And I think she was met with very shocking treatment by the tabloids.
Now, what about the point that if, in fact, the Mail on Sunday doesn't go to the Supreme Court or goes to the Supreme Court and fails, wouldn't it be fair to say that what she might have achieved would have an impact going forward on other possible royal entanglements with the tabloids to the royals' benefit, actually, that ironically she may have helped them?
I think that's a very valid point. You know, it's very difficult to predict these things, but the royals just don't tend to deal with it that way. They tend to use those back channels, and it's, you know, lawsuits, legal action are very much the last things that they use as a defence.
But actually, the younger members of the royals have been much more robust of late, and to a certain extent, you might think have put some of the tabloids on the back foot.
Yes, and they are more willing to stand up for themselves than, Prince Charles's generation, for example, which of course is a good thing. Having a robust press section in society, that's really important. But as public figures, they also need to toe that line to a certain extent. So for them to have, that good relationship, they need the press coverage. The monarchy needs that to sustain itself. They have to have a good working relationship, and that's why I use that word antagonistic. If they have this sort of tittle-tattle with the press, they are less likely to publish those puff pieces, those good stories that cover some of the genuinely good work the royals do, the charity stuff. And they focus on the gossip.
But that's quite interesting, because what you're suggesting is then that really that whole idea of a stiff upper lip has got to be going forward, rather than actually biting back and saying this is unacceptable. And I wonder how that looks in America now, Covey. I wonder what the treatment of the Duchess of Sussex looks like in America now, what the commentary is on it.
To be honest, I think Americans have been greatly surprised, because there is sort of this idea that sometimes is also promoted, I think, by British institutions, that Britain is less racist than America in some ways. For me, I think that Meghan has won the legal battle, but there is still a cultural battle that she is going to face, and she's going to continue to face it in the press, and she's at the center of it. It is much bigger than her, and it has very much to do with, in the first place, how we treat biracial women or women of color in general, women who are Black, who are codified as Black, how we treat them in the press, how we treat them in the public, especially how we police their reactions to being subject to the press in a very negative light. So I think Meghan is still going to be at the center of that, regardless of the legal win.
Thank you both very much indeed.